I feel untouchable with this hair, honestly. Hi, I'm Moxxie. I like makeup, you like makeup, that's why we're here. And today I thought that we could do a cute little office professional minimalistic glam type of look. As somebody who enjoys wearing substantial amounts of makeup, dramatic makeup at that, I always had a little bit of an issue when it came to workplaces, especially because I worked a lot of office jobs. It was more of like a personality thing. So I kind of experimented a little bit with a lot of things, and I was like, I can do like a tiny little glam look that still can look professional while still wearing an amount of makeup that I'm still comfortable with. You want to wear makeup, but you don't know exactly what can be acceptable in a workplace, and you don't want people bitching at you about it. I thought I would help a bitch out. Hopefully this works out for you if you want to follow along. Other than that, I don't really think I have anything else to say. I'll pass you on to the chick with no makeup. We'll do that. Bye. Oh, hey. I had to retouch my curls really quick. So just give me a second. So my eyebrows are already done as per usual. I talk a lot of shit about neutral palettes, but this is when those neutral palettes are gonna come in handy. We're not gonna do something crazy or with too much color. What we're gonna do first, and with any other makeup, I would totally discourage doing this, but because we're gonna go with a little more muted look, grab a light cream color that's not lighter than your own skin tone. It can be lighter, just not too much. For this, I'm gonna use Positivity from the Dominique palette, which I got on my last video. So you'll be able to see that it is a little light, but it doesn't make it look too crazy. So what I want to do is just kind of set whatever concealer or whatever primer you used. What I would recommend would be not to use concealer on your eyes, period, and get a good primer. But if you are using a concealer on your eyes, make sure that it's pretty similar to your skin tone and not super light. Then we can go ahead and grab a super light brown, and then this one is Compassion from the Dominique, and then use it on your crease. And then this is a lot like the tutorial that I did for like beginner's makeup. Use a big fluffy brush and then do little circles across your crease. I mentioned this in my makeup for beginners video, but what you want to do is go like this using your fingers mostly, because if you go like this, you don't have as much control. So you want to use your fingers mostly to go in a circle, but also put the littlest bit of pressure on it. So you're not going like this to blend your makeup, you're going like that. I obviously do it a little faster because I already have like the muscle memory and whatnot, but you can do it in like smaller circles. And then for the placement of this, what I usually do is I don't start right at the edge of my eye. I start a little bit above where the eye crease is. So I don't start it over here, I start maybe like over here. Just a little bit higher because you don't want to downturn your eyes too much. And I've found that at least with my eye shape, if I wear it down too much, it's the same thing as having eyebrows that go down. It just kind of makes your eyes look a little droopy. Next, we want to grab a really light highlight color. This one is from the Ofra Cosmetics, and this is Rodeo Drive. It's a highlighter shade. And then for your inner corner, you want to do this little fella right here, and we're not gonna push it down yet because we haven't done the makeup down here, concealer or anything down there yet. And then I usually grab it and put it right over that crease as well, so that it can make my eyes look a little bigger. And then we just kind of blend it into the cream color. And I also explained this on my tutorial for beginners video. When you're doing your highlight on the inner corner, I usually recommend to use a motion similar to this one. Like press and then loosen up at the end and just kind of take it out. So pressure and then kind of like this. Pressure and then up. Pressure and then up. But using faster movements, and then that's gonna help you kind of blend that out without having to put much effort in. That's how I usually do the highlight part. And we're also gonna put a little bit under the eyebrow, and then make sure that you are blending that out as well. You don't want it to just be a line of highlight. And if you feel like you did a little too much, remember you can always just go back and correct it with the same brush that that you did your crease color with. If you want to keep it extremely simple, this is where you would stop with the eyeshadow. But if you want to go a little bit more glam while still keeping it, you know, profesh, I would grab this one, maybe like a shimmery mauve of sorts, but it's pretty neutral. It's more neutral than mauve. So you'll see that little color over here. And then for that, we would place it right in the middle of the eye and then just kind of blend it into the highlight color and then outwards. So you want to bring it into the brown, but you want to keep it there by tapping it. Just this side's gonna look a little bit more plain, and you can just, we're gonna add the eyeliner, but then on this side you have a little bit more glitter or a little bit more glam, but it's still pretty muted. I'm not gonna add it to the other eye just so we can see the difference. For face, I don't really have to deviate too much from what I usually do, because I usually still go a little bit lighter on my foundation choices. I've mentioned this a lot, that my choice for my face is always the Fenty Ease Drop, which is technically not a foundation. It's just like a tinted moisturizer. The foundation that I got on Ipsy, which is the Charlotte Tilbury one, is also really nice because it's kind of like a light to medium coverage, and then this one will be like a light coverage. So depending on what kind of coverage you want, if you want a little bit more coverage or whatever, but I would still keep it like a very, very light foundation. Not color light, just like a feel light. So today Today I'm gonna use a Charlotte Tilbury one. And again, this is just because the Charlotte Tilbury has a little bit more coverage. You wanna keep it light. You don't wanna use a foundation that looks like it's a lot of makeup, because then you're kind of defeating the purpose of muting down everything else. In this case, what you want it for is just to even out your skin tone. So for more natural looking makeup, I always recommend going with cream or liquid makeup. So cream or liquid contour, cream or liquid blush, that's always going to give you more of a natural effect. But if you don't have either of these, then I would suggest using a light contour and blush. And then I'm not going to tell you the placement of your contour, because contour really varies from person to person. Different people require different placements and different shades, etc. I usually keep my contour to the hollow of my cheek, and all of this is going to get veiled with translucent powder anyways. So if you overdo it a little bit, you can always correct it. I haven't been a sponge user in a really long time. I mostly just use brushes, but it's more or less the same thing. You want to blend in a circle motion, tap it around a little bit as well. And then before we go into blush, let's do the concealer, which I almost forgot about. For the concealer, is going to be the same thing as everything else. You want it to be a really light consistency, not super thick. We're going to use a little bit in the middle and then a little bit in the corners. I usually also put a little bit on the tip of my nose and on the bridge. Also put a little bit on my chin and here, because I have a little bit of a shadow. I don't have a mustache, but I have a shadow of a mustache, which is weird. This one you can kind of blend it out a little more because you don't want to have like a light mustache instead of a dark mustache, you know what I mean? All of the concealer that is like liquid like this, when it's with brushes, you don't want to blend it by going like that, you know? You want to usually just tap it. Even though we're going to use a little bit in the middle, I still do bring it down so that it doesn't create just a white line. For the concealer, I usually clean up the eyeshadow with the concealer. And what you want to do is you want to follow the natural line of your eye. So my eye line goes like that. So then that's the line that I'm going to follow with the concealer. When I'm doing my everyday makeup, my like drastic makeup, I don't follow a lot of these rules, because a lot of these rules are if you wanted to shape your face into what is considered like the perfect face shape. Thankfully, makeup has evolved to the point where we don't really necessarily want to fit into a stereotype. We just kind of do what we want. So the next step we're going to do is powder. You don't want to do something crazy. You usually want a translucent powder. This translucent powder is from Huda Beauty. It is my favorite, but I have always said that a good powder as well is the Airspun powder. I use that powder for years. Now I usually only put powder here for the moment, just because my eyes crease a lot in the bottom. And then for the bottom of our eyes, we're gonna kind of follow the same thing that we did on top. So when I do the bottom of my eyes, I always start with the inner corner. So for the inner corner, we're gonna do a little bit past this little peak right here, a little bit past it, and then we're just gonna kind of blend it out. Make sure that you get the actual inner corner of your eye right here. We're gonna do the same thing, make sure that we have it like right in the inside, and then on the bottom a little over that peak right here. Because we have two different looks, we're gonna do two different undersides of the eye. So for this one, we're not gonna put any of the cream color.
You gotta lock the door. I could be a psycho murderer.
I'm just saying that I have him. He'll kill anyone. Bye. Okay, so because this one doesn't have the color up here that this one has, we're not gonna use the cream color in the bottom. We're gonna go straight with the brown. So it's gonna be the same brown that we used for the crease. So the light little brown. It would be more convenient to use like a smaller brush. I usually just use the same brush and then I flatten it and use that. But if you don't want to do that because you don't trust that it'll work out the way you want, a little flat brush, it doesn't have to be angled, will also work just fine. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put that up until the middle of your eye. You don't want to go over the middle of your eye too much. You just want to kind of stay here. And then that's just gonna kind of blend out. A good way to blend that with flat brushes in that case is the same way you blended your highlight. So going down and then separating the brush from the skin. Obviously I do it a little faster because I'm kind of already used to it. But you can definitely do it a little slower. Patience is always a virtue when it comes to makeup. You don't want to rush things because then things don't come out the way you want them to. Also, I just realized I use a totally different shade for that. I was supposed to use this brown, I used this brown. That's why it looks darker. So that's my bad. You're gonna wing it up a little bit like that, and don't worry, we're gonna connect that to the black. You can do this with a dark brown or you can do it with a black because we want to keep it a little bit more muted. We're not going to do a liquid liner. We're going to go with eyeshadow, which is a good practice when you're doing eyeliner as well. Eyeshadow is always a good first step. So what you want to do is you want to close your eye and you're going to follow the line. So that's why I said to wing this up with the same line as your eye. Because then when you close it, that's the line that you're gonna follow up with the black. And then you're just gonna do that on the very corner. You're not gonna bring that in to come from over here or anything. You're just gonna do the corner of your eye. And then you're gonna leave it at that. For all intents and purposes, this eye is already good. For the other side, we're gonna follow more or less the same steps, except with the colors that we used on this side, obviously. So the same color that we used up here, we're gonna use in the very, very middle here. So the same as on this side, you don't want to go over kind of like the middle of the eye. You don't want to bring it all the way in. So you're just going to blend it into the highlight color right there in the middle. And then we're going to bring it out like that. And then from here on out, it's going to be the same exact thing. On the corner of the eye, we're going to blend out that brown that we used for our crease. And then again, you see, you follow the line from your eye and then blend that out a little bit. So it's going to be in the corner. So here on this eye, we have highlight, and then in the middle we have the little bit of the glitter color, and then on the outside, on this side we have the brown. On this side we have the highlight, just regular cream matte eyeshadow, and then brown on the outside and black for the liner. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna grab black eyeshadow and then we're just gonna follow the line that we did from the underside. We're gonna follow that with eyeshadow in just the corner of the eye. And then from here on out, it's just touch-ups. You know, make sure that your makeup is pretty even. You can use brown mascara if you want to keep it like super natural. I will not be doing that. If you want just like good coverage but still natural eyelashes, I've said this before, I'll say it 1,000 times, the Makiage mascara is great for that. If you're gonna do the eyelashes underneath, I highly recommend not dipping it in the mascara before, because you don't want to do a lot of product on your bottom lashes when we're trying to kind of keep it low-key, you know? So because we already kind of figured out that they are two different looks, but they still both look nice. I'm gonna even out the color on the other eye because it drives me insane not having the same color on both. Afterwards, we can grab a little bit more translucent powder and just kind of tap it. You want to kind of dust off that powder that you put under your eye. Remember, don't leave it there. It's gonna look funny and silly. So I forgot about the cream blush before I put all of the powder on. Sorry. This is a great opportunity for all you besties out there who don't have cream blush. So we're gonna go with this color. This color is like a dusty pink. You don't want to do this. Don't do that, like ever. Because you're gonna do that and then when you put it down, your makeup's gonna be down here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put it back here and then you just kind of blend it out. I would say never go past the middle of your eye. Just make sure that you're blending that also into your contour, and then make sure that you also blend out the top part. And then we have highlight. Just because you're not doing full glam doesn't mean that you can't change a little bit of highlight, right? But we do want to keep it a little bit more. From the same palette, I usually use the white, as you can see is very well loved. There are two different ones. There's a super light kind of like champagne color, and then this one is a little darker. We're gonna use the darker one. Highlight placement also depends on your face shape and what you're trying to achieve. I like to put mine right here. I feel like my face is too flat on the sides, so to kind of highlight this little bone right here, because I feel like I don't have a lot of cheekbone. So if I turn my face, you can see the highlight, but it's not crazy. Again, depending on what nose contour you do. Some people do their contour like straight down. Some people do what I do, which is like kind of like this little button nose. And then your highlight would go on the points of your nose that you didn't use contour on. So I didn't use contour in the middle. That's where I'm putting my highlight. And then I didn't use contour on the very tip of my nose. So that's where I'm putting my highlight. So our face and our eyes are fully done. The only thing left to do is lips. What I would recommend doing is finding like a little mauve-ish color, and then I wouldn't overline my lips. I would just line them. So just follow the line of your actual lip. Instead of lining it from 0 on the top, I usually just do the... So if you mix it around a little bit, you want it to kind of blend in. I usually either do it with my fingers or but this one's a little harder, so. Or you could go with a matte kind of brownish lipstick. Now this one from MAC that's called Sultry Move. I love this lipstick. It has a nice powdery finish to it. Also, I recently received this Give Beauty one from Gwen Stefani, which also has a really nice shade. They're very, very similar. They're both kind of neutral browns-ish. The difference is the MAC one is a little bit more pink, and then the Gwen Stefani one is a little bit darker. I would say if you're gonna use a darker lipstick, to not, you know, go like that, because that's just gonna make it extra dark. I would say kind of more like tap it so that you can get a lighter color out of it. If it's already kind of like a lighter color, then you're good like swiping it back and forth. But if you want to use a color and kind of just have like a touch of it, tapping it on your lips is always a good option for that. Now I'm a little torn between these two, but I think I'm gonna do the Gwen Stefani one, and then you can also just do the old swipe it once and blend out. So that's still gonna give you a nice color, but it's not gonna be overpowering. So this is the MAC one. I think the MAC one is a little better for this look specifically. So that's what we're gonna do. So that's the final look. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. If you tried it and followed along, let me know that in the comments how it turned out, or tag me on social media to let me know so that I can see how it turned out for you guys. Other than that, again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow me on all of my socials. It's Scott_Moxxie on everything. I think that's pretty much it. So I'll see you next time. Bye.